We're doing a clap sync. Somebody write this time code down. 51 minutes. 51 minutes. I'm going to text you about that.
Well, 50.
Okay, everybody. Sean is the best, and he saved the episode. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Wake up, everybody. Today is Thursday, December 2nd, and we are Never Free to Play, a podcast where we talk about all the video games we wish we were playing. I'm one of your hosts, Karch Palashti, joined by my co-hosts, Sean Mybers, Jason Wright, and Dr. Brockeldirk. If you decide you like us, then there's definitely something wrong with you, but you might as well subscribe to us on YouTube and podcast services, or find us on Twitter where we are at Never Free to Play. If you have questions, comments, thoughts, ideas, feedback, please send it to us at neverfreetoplay@gmail.com. No one has yet. I'm starting to think that no one ever will, Josh excluded. Gentlemen, how are you doing? It's been 2 weeks since we've gathered.
Yes.
Because we skipped for Thanksgiving. How was Thanksgiving, everybody?
I had a good Thanksgiving. I as an elder junior officer, I always invite all the other junior officers over to make sure they have some place to go, since many of them are not well versed in the art of cooking. So I had actually one of the older guys. He's actually only a couple years younger than me, because he joined late, and his wife over, and we had our wives got along really well, so we had a good time.
Cool. Speaking of people who are good at cooking, or rather the inverse of bad, Robert, you cooked a lot of meats, I hear.
Oh, yes.
Tell me about all the meats you cooked.
I cooked a specifically brined and prepared turkey, and a double smoked boneless ham with a brown sugar honey glaze.
My favorite kind.
Was the glaze reducted?
Oh yeah. So reducted.
Reduced to nothing atoms. Oh wait, no.
Well, it just reduces to hard candy. So
that is what it does.
Delicious.
Yeah.
And then that hard candy burns.
And burns you terribly. If you,
and catches fire eventually. My wife did that once.
Sean and I recently shared an article about the dangers of burning sugar. So yes, Sean knows. But yeah, that was the most of my meeting. But I spent probably a good 8 hours on smoking and low temperature cooking and all the fancy stuff.
Sounds amazing.
Delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Jason?
We didn't do much. My family was out of town at my brother's, and so we went to Lauren's parents, and we had steak, and it was awesome.
Ooh, nice. Because you did a bunch of stuff before too, right? Like other things.
Yeah, we did. We
show those
pre-gamed.
pilgrims. You don't have the traditional meals.
Exactly. Yeah, and now we're decorated for Christmas, so that's pretty cool.
Nice.
Same. Yes, Christmas is in full swing. For the first time in my life, I'm done with my wife's shopping this early,
Wow.
that is, and they're all wrapped too, so that's pretty
Oh,
cool.
wow.
And
That's
I have
impressive.
the
Legend.
Our anniversary is a week before Christmas, and so I've got that as well.
Very nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
Yeah.
How? This is great. It's
I got
insane.
lucky. I think Amazon. I think you're in that perfect. If you keep if today, tomorrow, maybe up to this weekend. If you do all your shopping now, you'll get in that sweet spot where they've hired and their distribution is ramped up in expectation, but the people haven't necessarily the customers haven't come yet, and so you've got your only a slightly increased demand, and then of course as we get closer, that'll shift to where the demand far exceeds the amount of delivery services, etc., that they can handle, and things get crazy. But right now, I think we're in that sweet spot. So, because everything came
And if you want to hear more macroeconomics, subscribe.
Yeah!
But for now, housekeeping, because I wanted to cut Karch out. I don't really have much. We skipped Thanksgiving. I don't really think we uploaded anything. Have we talked about Sean's amazing Final Fantasy VII episode with his hand drawing things?
I don't think we've had a chance to.
We have not.
Okay, well, that is great. Go check it out. And that is all. Let's get into Game of the Year,
Learn
man.
a very rough lesson that apparently some games will stop your Xbox from recording them and not tell you.
They will. They're rude. Money grabbing companies.
On a 25-year-old game.
And counting. All right, today's a very special episode. Today's topic of the show, the entire show, is going to be, this is our Game of the Year podcast. Game of the Year, soccer moms, drink it up.
2021, Game of the Year for Fortnite
first
kids.
Quarter, second quarter, Fortnite kids. Here we go. How did that get back to the top? Get to the bottom. There we go. All right, so we're going to go this in a kind of haphazard order. Some of us have notes, some of us don't, and I'm sure we're going to come up with answers that we thought of at the last second anyway. So we're just going to start with the first one I have in this list, and that is the most surprising game. And that basically means, before I start, the rules are you have to have played the game this year for the first time.
With the exception of one category.
With the exception of one category, which is favorite, like revisit. You have to have either started and or finished the game. I put a few things that I've played before, but I never completed to credits, at least as far as runner-ups go. So anyway, those are our criteria. First category, most surprising. So that's the game that you played and you weren't expecting much out of it, but maybe it still wasn't maybe your favorite, but you got a lot more out of it than you were expecting to. And I'll just start us off. I have two for this category. Couldn't really pick between them. First one was Bravely Default 2. I had talked myself out of getting this game, and then at the last minute, I decided I was going to get it, and I actually had a pretty good time. It is nowhere near as good as the first one in a general sense. There are a lot of things that obviously they've improved just mechanically. It doesn't really look that much better. It does technically look better. It has better lighting, and the graphics have to be better because it's a Switch versus a very early 3DS game. But it's a little grindy, and I just didn't like it as much as the first one. But it still had a lot of those really nice emotional moments that the first one did have, maybe if not as strongly. And then my other one was Final Fantasy II. As much as that game is panned through the series, I played it as part of the bet. Many years ago, I had started it. I never finished it, but I had a blast playing that game with its goofy leveling system where you have to get hit and use magic and slash swords to level up all those various skills and stats rather than just getting experience points. And I played that, start to finish, really, evenly. I did no breaks, no boring moments. I just gobbled it up and I loved it. Anybody have a surprising entry?
Your most unique leveling system on a Final Fantasy, and it's basically how Skyrim works for leveling.
Yeah, it invented it. Skyrim owes everything to Final Fantasy II.
You heard it here.
Yeah. Anybody else have a most surprising entry?
So I had to pick between two on this. The first one was Star Wars: The Old Republic. My first MMO I ever played a lot of, and it's my most surprising just because historically I don't like MMOs. I haven't really ever been been drawn to them. And obviously I got a lot of playtime in this. I just wrapped up the base game with my trooper. I'm going to go take a break from it and play some other things, but have surprisingly enjoyed that. However, I think it is edged out by one of the earliest games I played this year, which is Sakana of Rice and Ruin.
Oh, man, I forgot that was this year.
I was blown away by how much I care about the various growth stages of rice and how much I now know about the various growth stages of rice because of that game. And so, that one taught me much, and I was surprised just how much fun it was.
Cool.
Nice.
Jason, do you have a surprising title?
I have a surprising because all you wrote here is most surprising. And I interpreted this entire list as the blankest thing in gaming. So for me, for 2021, the most surprising thing was the announcement of the Steam Deck. Because we got a new hardware announcement in a year where we're getting basically new console launches, because it was the very end of 2020 when the PS4 and the Series X launched. So it just was super surprising, and it was out of nowhere, and it was supposed to be coming out this year. So it was kind of neat because as the Switch began to feel stale, I found I needed to fill that portable hand-sized void, and that's what the Steam Deck did.
Bring on the Steam Deck. It's going to save us all.
Yes, please.
I'm disappointed that this isn't Yoshi's Island for blowing your mind on platformers.
Let him get there. It'll be next year. He hasn't played enough of it yet.
That's true.
Right, exactly.
I also plan on playing that soon.
Yay.
Well,
Robert, we'll let you go last since you may not have an answer for everything, but do you have a most surprising game or anything, like Jason said?
yes. I was most surprised by Guardians of the Galaxy.
Ah, that's a good one, yeah.
I had very, very low expectations. especially given the state of the Marvel's Avengers game and just knowing the state of how the trend of games are going. I was being cautious, but it was one of the best solo campaign type of games I've played in a long time. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I have enjoyed how this podcast has reacted to this game, because it first came out and Karch and I were like, yeah, it looks pretty good. And Jason like, that looks terrible. And then we got more look at it, and Jason and I swapped places where Jason was like, oh, it looks pretty good. And I was like, oh, I'm really worried about this game. So for it to earn Robert's most surprising really just completes the crazy cycle we've had about this game.
For sure.
I actually really want to play this game. So if I could pick it up on a good deal or something, I am going to try it now.
All right. Next category, kind of the inverse of most surprising, most disappointing game. Again, not necessarily the worst game you played, but something you were maybe hyped for and then were deflated when that hype just didn't live up. And mine, and I've talked about this enough, and funnily enough, I had my coworker actually finally listened to some of our episodes on a long drive over the Thanksgiving break. Okay. And he loves Ratchet & Clank, and he was super upset when I was ragging on it.
That's hilarious.
I'm going to have to rag on it just a little bit more. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart was my most disappointing game.
What's his name?
His name is Matt.
Hey, Matt, I hope that you're driving in the car with your family on like Christmas vacation and you're listening to this and you get mad again.
We can only hope. Destiny sucks. Yeah, he loves Destiny. Let's see. Palpatine was a good addition to Rise of Skywalker. Let's see. The prequels suck. These are all things that he loves, and so I'm saying Star Trek is stupid. J.J. Abrams versions, however, are amazing. Yes, moving on. Most disappointing.
I don't need to get dragged into that conversation. So.
No, you don't. Ratchet & Clank Rift Apart. I love Ratchet & Clank. I loved it. Or rather, I've only played one of them, and that was a 2016 remake, and I loved that game. That game was amazing, top to bottom, start to finish. But this one was just a wet fart as far as what I was hoping for, what I got. Doubly so because it is a PS5 exclusive, and I'm not saying.
I was going to ask you.
Yeah,
I was going to ask you that. Did that have an impact on the amount of disappointment? Was how hyped this game was as like the beacon of next gen?
It's a secondary aspect as far as like my disappointment. Like it's not the first and foremost part of it, but when I look back, I'm like, this was a PS5 game, and while I don't expect all launch games to be amazing, like. This didn't push any boundaries whatsoever, like in any aspect at all, except that's not true. The ray tracing, like you had like 3 different options you could pick, and the ray tracing with the 60 frames per second, the game looks polished. It doesn't feel polished, but it certainly looks polished. So there's that. But this whole idea of bouncing back and forth between what are essentially completely identical characters, a lot of the like camp and humor that you love from it, just they were missing in this one, so I've talked about it before. I won't belabor now, but yeah, that's mine. Anybody else? Sean? We'll just keep going in order like we did before. Sean, do you have a disappointing
I thought
title?
about putting Skyrim Fishing here because it'd be funny, but I actually never downloaded the Anniversary Edition and played Skyrim Fishing, so I feel like I can't put that. And so I'm actually going to put, this pains me a little bit, I'm going to put Star Wars Squadrons. Really enjoyed the gameplay. Had some, the fact that it did launch with a short little a fairly short but good enough campaign was enjoyable, but there was a lack of commitment. So gameplay was great. I love playing it. Shifting my power sources to shifting my shields around and all that was classic old X-wing versus TIE fighter gameplay. And they did a good job there. But you get to the end and the whole game you've been swapping sides between the Empire and the now New Republic, and so you're playing as different characters, and so you can see the 2 storylines converging, and you're going to fight eventually, and it sets up like, oh, I'm gonna have to pick a side, and they're going to wipe out the other side, and then they pull like nope, those two squadrons never fight each other, and and then like it's got this bad fake out of the death of a character, and it just landed like just landed flat.
Mm-hmm. I'll skip it then.
But the multiplayer was fun.
Well,
yeah, despite everything you just said, it also had a VR mode that I really wanted to check out.
Well, that's totally separate from everything you said. It's worth checking out, I think.
Crap. Can we pause? I just spilled something.
Resident Evil Village is my runner-up. I don't know why, I just couldn't love it. There was something about it. It didn't grab me. And then my real most disappointing game, which I also will not belabor, like Karch said, is Tony Hawk Pro Skater 1 and 2 Remake on the Switch.
Yeah.
I think it was probably a really fine game, but the port wasn't good. I think it was really more the issue. Frame drops continue to be a major problem. Like we played yesterday, and it's difficult. So I also kind of missed out on some of the really cool features like ray tracing that I would have loved to see on the PC. So I may double dip at some point and give it another shot, but the Switch port in particular was not great and kind of ruined the experience for me.
That's unfortunate. Don't buy games for your kids. That's the lesson to take away from here.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah.
Robert, do you have a most disappointing game?
Most disappointing, probably a game that I just got, Sherlock Holmes Chapter 1.
Oh, man.
What's that?
It's in a series of Sherlock Holmes games by, I don't even know if it's the same production company. It's just a brand new Sherlock Holmes game that came out on the computer. But it's so stupid already. I can't even keep playing it. It's Dr. Watson is a figment of your imagination in this. And he's also
Not a great start.
really stupid, and he talks really slow. So it makes Sherlock seem genius by comparison, but he talks so. Oh, and he calls him Sherry.
We couldn't come up with a storyline and know how to write a smart person, so we just wrote a really dumb person so that
We
the
know how to
normal
do
guy
that.
will seem smart.
Right.
That's the premise of Idiocracy.
So playing it just makes me tired.
So not as good as Sherlock Holmes, right?
Right.
Okay. All right, next up, continuing the negativity train. And I'll have to switch this up because it's like two more negative ones in a row. A worst game. This is basically the opposite of your game of the year. This is just a game that, I don't know, made you mad. Just was totally bad. 1 out of 10 kind of stuff. I don't really have one. I put a tentative, like I just don't have anything that fits that bill. Thankfully, I try to avoid games like that. Again, like I won't say that Ratchet and Clank is like the worst game ever. It might be the worst game I played. I don't know, but I'm not gonna officially denote that. So I don't really have one. Sean, do you have a worst game you've played?
I played Anthem this year.
Oh, that's a good contender. Yeah.
And it's there's a few moments in that game, mostly when you're flying around your mech, where you're like, this is really cool, and then every other part of that game lets you down, and
You wanted to like that. You wanted to go in maybe thinking you could get like have lesser expectations and be surprised, I imagine.
Yeah, and I came in with lesser expectations, and it was like still worse than what I was expecting.
That's a feat.
Not by much. It was fairly close to meeting my lesser expectations, but it was bad. And
Did they cancel
it
it
drags
yet?
on. You're always, because the opening's good. The opening's like, okay, yeah, I got talking characters and like fun kind of dialogue that isn't just like the weird like stated across from person, and then that never shows up again. But because you got it in the beginning, you're like, it's just around the corner. If I just play a little bit more, I'll get to another cool segment like that, right? No, no, you won't.
That's so disappointing.
Unless it's in like the last third of the game.
I doubt it. I very much doubt
I
it.
do too.
Jason.
So I don't have a worst game. I'm kind of like you, but I wanted to still give out an award. So I decided to look up all the games that launched and fell directly on their face for 2021. Apex Legends, specifically the Switch port, was not well received.
Okay. I was like, what?
The most recent GTA Trilogy port to the Switch also. New World,
year for
Amazon's... Say what?
Bad year for ports.
Oh, yeah.
Except for one in particular.
I don't think that's necessarily every developer's issue. That might be a little bit on Nintendo. But anyway, New World, Amazon's new MMO. When they launched back in October, they were losing 135,000 players a week for several weeks after launch.
And their economy's in shambles.
It's still yep, they have not recovered. And Battlefield 2042, which launched just last month and has already lost 70% of its active player base within the first 2 weeks of launch.
Strangely enough, Halo has gained 70% of their active player base.
Interesting.
That's
And
a made-up fact. I'm assuming everyone left 2042 and went and played Halo.
And lastly, since it couldn't be in contention last year, having not launched before our Game of the Year episode, Cyberpunk 2077 will also get mentioned here.
Which had its best week last week, apparently.
And how long was that not able to be purchased on the PS4?
Did they ever put it back?
I don't think
I don't know that they did.
On the PS4. I think it's on the PS5, but I don't think it's on the PS4.
It's not on the PS4.
Insane to me.
A true travesty. And now people are coming out of the woodwork. It's a really good game, guys. I'm like, okay.
No,
okay.
you anthemed it and got lucky that it worked out. That's what you did.
Did they even though? That's the thing. I don't even think they've had any major updates to it. I think people are just
I meant they anthem it in the sense that like I tried going into Anthem with really low expectations so it would seem good.
Yeah.
They went in with low expectations and it actually worked out for them.
I do think that they have fixed a lot of the playability issues, but they haven't necessarily fixed like the bad AI, like the lackluster story, etc. So.
All right.
And that's all for worst game of 2021 for me.
Robert, do you have a worst game?
Probably the Medium.
I will.
You mentioned that.
Yeah.
How bad it was.
It has now become, after I stewed in my hatred a little more, it has become the ultimate disappointing game for me. Like, I hate it.
Give in to your hate.
And that's another one that was kind of touted as a next-gen game, and it sounded like it didn't win.
And they were like all into this thing because they couldn't run the game, or at least how they wanted it to run, on former iterations of consoles and computer systems, because they wanted to be able to present two different like perspectives of the same location, which was dumb. Like any other game, you can just switch back and forth between one world or next, but they wanted you to be like, no, you live in two worlds, and both of those worlds are glitchy pieces of crap.
So
all right, so that's how it works. If you have two worlds, you're either super bland or you're glitchy pieces of crap.
Yep. Yeah. So
concentrate on one good world, people.
And also the plot was like translated from some Polish book, and it was really stupid. Like, you kept going through most of it thinking you would get more answers about anything in the game, but nope. So
oh well,
there you go.
It looked cool. The marketing was nice, at least. All right, I've decided we are going to continue the negativity train because I'm not smart enough to just change things on the fly. Next category is biggest waste of money, and it's kind of the same thing, but if you can put it's not exactly the same thing. So if you can put a dollar amount on it, and this could be hardware, this could be anything. I actually don't have one. I didn't do a good job researching this, unfortunately. Usually I go through the stores and my receipts, and I'm like, okay, but nothing springs to mind, so I'd be nitpicking anyway if I was able to find one, unless somebody can remember one. I mean, I guess the biggest waste of money are like the 3-ish months I probably paid for Game Pass and then didn't use it at all. So congratulations, Xbox, on stealing money from my wallet.
How do you feel about the $30 you paid for Tales of Arise?
We'll get to Tales of Arise and why, because I put that down tentatively. I was like, maybe I'm like, that was the biggest waste of money, but it wasn't, because I did enjoy most of the time I had, and I actually regret a little bit of not finishing it, but I'll talk about that more as we get to that category. But Sean, did you have a big waste of money?
I very nearly had a biggest waste of money until my computer showed up, and so far appears to be working just fine for me. But had we gotten to this and my computer either wasn't back, or if it got back and had issues, you can bet that I would be very confident what my biggest waste of money for the year was.
Sure. I could tongue-in-cheek or cheekily joke that my PS5 was my biggest waste of money, but I love that thing. It's awesome.
My
it was just a lot of money. Jason, Mr. Money Man, Mr. Pro Consumer.
I waste a lot of money.
You waste so much money.
I said for this one, for me, Metroid Dread. And the reason is because, I mean,
$20.
I know, but I didn't play this game pretty much at all.
He essentially, like, funded you and me playing the game.
I would say, on behalf of Karch and I, thank you for subsidizing
Yeah, no,
our Metroid Dread.
I thought, I don't know why, and here's the thing, and this is why I have it as my biggest waste of money. I know about myself that I don't love Metroidvania games, so why would I think I'd like this? And then add the Emmy as the enemy onto this. It's basically like a more stressful version of Hollow Knight. And I found myself disliking the game for some of the same reasons. And I'm really bad at maps and I'm really bad at backtracking. But then added Emmys onto that, and I just made it. I couldn't play it. So that's for me biggest waste of money, because I should have liked it, but I'm a bad gamer and I didn't like it. So
I appreciate that honesty.
Yes,
Robert. Biggest waste of money.
Yeah, it's hard to say because most of my rage has been directed at games on Game Pass, and I've also had such good games on Game Pass also that it kind of evens out. So like, I mean, I'm mad that I got some of these games, or that I put time into them, and I technically did pay for those things, but
yeah, I thought about putting Game Pass.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Because I played really well on Game Pass around the beginning of the year. But then like the first half year, I played a bunch of games that I've been wanting to play on Game Pass, and then like the later half year when I got into Mass Effect Legendary Edition, all that. Yeah, beyond playing, I guess some Deep Rock with you guys, and then basically holding on to it, waiting for Halo to come out here, or the Halo campaign to come out here in 6 days. I haven't touched it too much in the later half of the year, but I also still get to play a lot of games in the first half of the year that I've been wanting to play, so I don't feel too bad about it. But yeah, I almost debated putting that up.
Yeah. So it's, and you know, I also tend to make impulse buys of games that I very much regret later, although of course now I can't think of the biggest ones that I would like, because sometimes when I get so mad, it's like it just overwrites my memory. I just can't.
Blocks it out, yeah.
You repress the memory, because otherwise you'll remain mad at it. And that's just not good for anyone.
Yeah, you can't live like that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm back.
Hey, perfectly timed. We just finished talking and are ready to move on to Best RPG.
Best RPG. I didn't write one down for this, but I'm just going to slot in Final Fantasy VI. That game is really, really good. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
we can hear you. Final Fantasy VI, a 25-year-old game, is the best RPG of 2021. We hear you.
That I played, yeah.
Okay.
It's really special. If you've never finished it, like me, because I think well, actually, I don't know. I don't know if anyone else here has ever even started it before. But if you've never played it or finished it, do those things. It's very good.
Oh, okay.
If you don't play any of the other 2D ones, play this game. Sean.
Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Of course.
Hard to beat. Quality game. Quality trilogy of games. And if I have to pick one, Mass Effect 1 is the most RPG of the three, so we'll go with that.
Yeah. I mean, if you want to hear a lot of stuff, I mean, there's like, I don't know, 3 hours of stuff you can go listen to on our channel or something.
Yeah,
maybe.
Something like that. But
something like that.
At the same time, like, not just an RPG in terms of gameplay mechanics and being able to pick abilities and all that, but a literal role-playing game of you and having the role of Commander Shepard quite beautifully.
So well done.
Yeah.
Jason, best RPG.
I, funnily enough, had Mass Effect Legendary Edition as my best RPG of 2021 because the few hours that I spent with it, I really, really enjoyed it. And I think the only thing that kept me from playing it is that it was stranded on the PS4. And usually the nights that I game, my wife crafts in the room where the PS4 is, and so I game on the PC. And so I don't know, it was hard to find time to play it. And I might double dip and get that on a good sale on PC and play it there. Karch and I have a pending bet to see if I can beat one game in 6 months.
And film it as a Let's Play.
I never said that.
Actually, well, Sean added it, so there you go. Film it as a Let's Play.
I'll be honest, I thought you did.
I did.
And it has to be longer than 10 hours. And honestly, Mass Effect 1 Legendary Edition might be that game that I choose for that.
You do know Legendary Edition is only $40.
I already paid $20 to play it on the PS4 and I didn't play it. So
Such a waste of money.
I'm canceling what I bought you already for Christmas, and I'm just going to send you Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
all right, that's all I have.
Robert, best RPG.
Oh, best RPG, probably a Skyrim Anniversary Edition. No, no, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. It's Baldur's
Specifically the fishing.
Baldur's Gate 3 is my real answer.
Ooh, that's a good one.
That is a
Look forward
great
to that
one.
full game coming out.
I
What?
want.
Keep going.
Oh, I don't know when the full game is coming out, and I wish they would tell me because I'm not going to keep playing the game until the full release comes out. But
Yeah.
like, I played enough of it, like probably 30 hours worth of just screwing around for fun.
Wow.
Just they designed such a fun system that is like the closest thing to D&D rules that I'll find in a video game outside of other older, better D&D games.
I would
Covering
like
spaces.
to retroactively change my answer to my D&D campaign.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
That
is the best RPG. I also retroactively changed my answer to Sean's D&D campaign.
Yes!
I as
That was
well.
really good.
Yes.
I'm a little salty that Karch's character just like joined our party on the last day, and like I was literally about to go, and then I think Sean was like, "No, it's not your turn. It's Karch's character's turn," and he beat the fucking big bad evil guy, and I would have done it.
Dragon Goat.
I'm sorry that Myth died to save you all from the beastly red dragon that was killing everybody. My bad.
Anyway, that's fine. I'm not salty about it. It's not why I didn't put it as my best RPG.
Real quick, before we continue, Robert, have you heard of Divinity, what is it?
Original Sin.
Divinity 2, Original Sin.
I know that every time I started Baldur's Gate, it told me about those games, but that's the only thing that I've seen of it.
So same exact company, practically the same exact game, minus the fact that they don't use D&D mechanics, but it plays very, very similarly. Little less on the production quality, like so you don't have those like cool scenes with the character like, you know, zoomed in and talking to the other person all zoomed in. It's always zoomed out at that isometric level. But I can't imagine it's more than $20 right now, and it's a complete game. And everybody else loves it.
Bum it off
at
Karch
Jason.
on the Switch.
Oh, no, don't play
you
it.
have
Don't
it.
play it on the Switch. Don't play it on the Switch.
I actually thought the controls were fine. Honestly, I played it and
but he
it was
can
fine
play it
for
on
me.
PC. He should play it on PC.
I'll do PC.
Do it on PC.
Okay, I'll do it.
One of the few times I'll advocate for it. Anyway, moving on. What's next? Best Indie. I can say something about this. Unfortunately, one of my greatest disappointments this year was that I didn't play enough indies because I've been playing too many old games, namely Final Fantasies. But as soon as I'm done with those, I'm going to go on like an indie binge. But I played
I'll help you.
I played two, To the Moon, which is kind of hacky, kind of janky, but and mostly a narrative experience, so it's okay that it is those things. Beat it in like 4 hours. Really good story about what is memory, what is love, what is happiness, all those things mixed in. Phenomenal soundtrack. Love the main theme so much. I tried to learn it on piano, but my fingers are too fat and small. And so I couldn't do that. But my actual best indie of the year is Minute, M-I-N-U-T. And it's awesome. You're this little Tamagotchi-looking guy in this totally black and white game, and you pick up a cursed sword, and you die every 60 seconds. And nothing ever changes that. You can find different kinds of checkpoints as you go throughout the world, but it's this like just this fast-paced micro puzzle solving, awesome top-down, almost Zelda-esque in a way, minus with the caveat that you die every 60 seconds. I beat it in like 68 minutes, and it was the best indie fun I've had all year. I highly recommend that game. You can bum it off my Switch or go pay like the $4 it costs.
It's also on iOS devices.
It's on everything.
Probably Android as well.
It's probably
yeah.
on everything, yeah.
So go find it.
But yeah, it's really great. Play Minute, and you won't regret
Hey,
it.
Karch, don't you have to have long, dexterous fingers to play the French horn?
No.
Just at least 3 of them? Just like with those three
You need
big
you need
dexterous fingers.
What the heck are you talking about?
You play the French horn, and
you don't need dexterous fingers. You just need nubs that can push down the levers.
Okay.
For the valves, and a thumb, because there's a thumb key too.
Oh,
Anyway.
I forgot about the thumb key.
And then you need a right hand to stick up the bell, because apparently we just couldn't figure out that mechanic. And we say, hands are good enough. But anyway, you're giving me
very good.
Just tangent. Shut up, Sean. What was your best indie?
So I already gave Sakuna my most surprising, and part of that was because I knew that my best indie was going to be a different game, and that was The Messenger.
Ooh, yeah.
Just some phenomenal gameplay. I had a great time making that fondly play series, getting through that game. Quick. The music was phenomenal. The boss fights were challenging, but in a very enjoyable way. Look forward to what that studio makes is currently working on, and look forward to when it comes out. Yeah,
they're making a really cool looking Chrono Trigger inspired 16-bit RPG that I can't wait for, and I forget the name of all of a sudden, even though I have Twitter notifications for it like every day. But yeah, that's coming out next year.
Sea of Stories or something like that.
Sea of Stars. Sea of Stars. Yeah, looks really good though.
But yeah, just The Messenger, great game, great writing, fantastic humor. So it was one of those gems that I was very glad that I got through this year.
Awesome, Jason, best indie. ...
Because you didn't do it. Yeah, okay. I had to. My best indie for 2021 is a little game called Devour, which I have talked about on the podcast before. Came out January 28th of this year and is a little indie darling. It's a multiplayer horror game. And the objective is you have to get all the sacrificial items to the sacrifice point, but you have to go through a haunted house to do it, and the ghosts can kill you. And when they do, it is super freaking scary. But I only played this game one night, but I had an absolute blast doing it, and I hope that I get to play it again some more at some point. I played with that same group last night, but we were playing Battlefront 2. But anyway, that one right there, Devour, I think it was like $15. Totally worth it if you got 2 or 3 people you want to play with.
Excellent.
Neat.
Robert, best indie.
I don't know if it counts, but it's gonna, because I'll say it. The Ori games.
Ooh.
That counts.
Yeah, those count.
That counts?
Because I played them on my new upgraded computer rig, so I'm going to say it counts as a next-gen indie game too as well. But I was super surprised at how it was like they took a Metroid game, which I personally love the crap out of, and then made like the most beautiful, colorful, warm, emotional story with it, and the art that goes with it is just like both equal levels cute and just beautiful. So cannot recommend that game enough. I loved them, both of them actually, each one.
Will o' the Wisps didn't come out this year, right?
I think it was 2020.
Was it 2020?
Okay.
I think so.
I think so, because
I don't know for sure.
I definitely played it, and I did. That game's awesome.
I think it came out. Pretty positive it came out last year.
That's what I thought.
I played both of them this year, though. So, yeah.
Phenomenal picks. So those are so good. Sean, play them sometime, because I know you would like them.
Like I said, I was taking a break from SWTOR, and I think that's what I'm going to go play.
I think you should.
It'll
I love Hollow Knight, but
it's on Game Pass, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. Jason, you should play them too. Best year for a company. Sometimes we like to talk about gaming companies because we're nerds. But we're also adults, and we like fiscal responsibility and all that nonsense. But I couldn't think of one single company. So Sean, do you have a answer for this
I
category?
debated actually putting BioWare for this, just because Mass Effect Legendary Edition was such a greater success than was expected.
Mm-hmm.
But then we've seen some veterans of BioWare leave over the last couple of years, so I'm just gonna leave this category with, as long as you're not Activision Blizzard, you're having a pretty good year.
That's true. Everybody but them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Guys,
Jason,
you totally forgot the gaming company that had the most freaking insane year of all time, GameStop. What was going on with GameStop this year?
true.
My
Oh,
God.
well
that's
played.
true.
Yeah, all the stock craziness, I'm pretty sure they're still holding.
They are
honestly.
still, I mean, lots of them are. It's still really high. They're still talking about it
wild.
every day.
Wall Street Bets was like on mainstream media news and stuff, like insane. But the real answer, my real answer for this question is best company 2021. I said Microsoft. They had a bang up year. xCloud went live. They finalized their purchase of Bethesda, which is huge.
Yeah.
Game Pass picking up a lot of steam, and I really feel like they are meeting their goal.
And Halo's been, especially, they now made some tweaks to the Battle Pass, which was really the only gripe that people had. As far as gameplay, it's been hailed as great gameplay. So Halo's off to a strong start too.
Exactly, and that's 343. But I mean, at the end of the day, they're owned by Microsoft.
Right.
And I think they're really living up to their promise of transitioning from just being a console to being a platform. And if you think about it, although PS5's outselling Series X, almost any Microsoft fan who wanted to play next-gen Microsoft games this year got to do that, whereas Sony fans haven't had the same luxury. If you wanted to play Ratchet and Clank, or you wanted to play, what was the other one? The
Returnal.
Mm-hmm. Returnal, yeah. If you wanted to play either of those games, like you were just SOL. But if you were Microsoft and you wanted to play Halo, but you couldn't get a Series X, or you wanted to play Back 4 Blood, but you didn't have a Series X, that was no problem. You could play it on PC, you could play it on older consoles. So I say Microsoft. Microsoft had a good year.
Let's not forget either that the Xbox Series S was the top-selling console for Black Friday.
Oh, look at that.
I forgot that.
Probably because it was the most widely available, but still, top-selling console.
Because prior to that, nobody
and that
wanted.
Just another thing is Microsoft able to overcome this microchip issue quicker than Sony? Maybe. So anyway, Microsoft, they had a good year.
Yeah.
Good answer.
No.
Robert.
I don't have any interesting contributions outside of what you guys already said, so I'm just going to go with Microsoft, because I do think that out of all the consoles, for all the reasons Jason and Sean were saying, like, Xbox is winning. Like, they have Game Pass, which was my ability to use my new computer, like, in an unlimited capacity with all of those games.
So true.
That's phenomenal. And, like, even Karch was trying to help me get a PS5, and it was just not happening. Like, I between being too busy and or forgetting, like, there was no way I was gonna snag one. And thanks to Microsoft being generous enough to say, sure, PC owners, go to town on this Xbox stuff, then, I'll give it to them. But I guess that's more just me saying they're my favorite than they're being best. So.
Well, another way to think about it is they haven't had any bad press this year. I feel like almost every other gaming company has, and so just by that, they're like having a good year by default.
Yeah.
Their only blunder was when they tried to. What did they do with games with gold? They were gonna like double the price or something. Not games
I think
with
that was
gold.
last year.
Was that last year?
Yeah, well, they're going to increase the price of games for gold as an attempt to try to force everyone onto Game Pass.
That's right.
And they
reversed it.
Yeah. Yep.
But I mean, I guess what really comes down to, I guess they were the best. They had the best year because, right now we're walking around with microchips inside of vaccines. So, that's, by the way, for everyone listening, that's misinformation. That's not true.
Don't listen to him.
I didn't get it from a vaccine, but I got lots of
Brockeldirt.
microchips inside of me.
Dr. Brockeldirt prescribed me medical marijuana on a live stream.
I don't remember doing that.
No, not you. Dr. Brockeldirt hypothetically recommended that I should seek it, is all.
Oh. Well, that's different than prescribing. Okay. But let's go on. Let's move on.
Continue.
No, that was it. That was my joke.
All right. Next up, we have Best Multiplayer. Now, I know Jason's probably got a lot to say about this one, but I put Deep Rock. I put two. Deep Rock for playing with you guys, because it's probably the thing we played the most of, and we had a lot of fun recording it and being silly dwarves who drink and shoot.
Yeah, that was great.
Stuff. The game itself is fine. There are better multiplayer games out that I hope to play in 2022. I'm really excited about that Warhammer one. Well, that's Vermintide, but for 40K. But the other game I put, and unfortunately I didn't get to play with any of you guys, was Monster Hunter Rise. The multiplayer on that was amazing. I played a lot of it solo, but at some point, if you want to do things speedily, you're going to want to have other people join. And for being a Switch game. It's not a Nintendo game; it's a Capcom game, but it still is on the Switch, and the Switch usually has terrible internet, especially over Wi-Fi. But I never had a single problem. I don't remember dropping once. It was seamless, and a game like that is like steeped in its multiplayer for people ganging up on a giant dragon and beating the crap out of it with swords and hammers. And I hope to carve out some time and go back to it before that expansion comes in the summer next year. But it's a great game. The multiplayer was really awesome. Nice. John.
I thought about putting Halo Infinite for this between the release and just the fact that it does play great. But I'm kind of with you. The fact that in terms of multiplayer, I've had the most fun with this year. Deep Rock Galactic had a great time playing that. It like I said, not like you said, not the greatest multiplayer, but plays perfectly well and had a great time. So I'm going with that.
Cool, Jason, Mr. Multiplayer.
Yeah, I was also going to put Halo Infinite, but then decided on another because I thought Sean would talk about it more. I mean, I had a blast playing it with you guys. We have talked about it.
I got all of next year to talk about Halo Infinite.
Yeah, that's true. Plus, we did a lo-fi reviews on it, so I won't go into it. But I said Back for Blood because I don't have nostalgia for the Left 4 Dead games. I played a little bit. But Back 4 Blood I had a lot of fun doing it. It felt arcadey. It felt fun. I was playing it with Tyler, but it's a 4-person party, and usually it'll pair you with, it won't do bots. Usually once you open up the game past the intro mission, it wants to pair you with other people, and there's the open game chat in the game. And a lot of people use it, and so it was fun because not a lot of games really make you collaborate in a way that it's more beneficial to just talk rather than type. So not a lot of people use the actual in-game chat, and it was fun. We met some cool people, and I had a lot of fun playing it. It reminded me of the early 2000s like online multiplayer, or the mid-aughts online multiplayer.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun the one time I played it, and we met that one guy, and he was really good.
Oh yeah, I forgot. Did we film? I'm pretty sure we have a stream
that's the stream
somewhere.
He was a king.
Yeah,
he was a king. King something.
He was.
He was a king.
If you're out there, dude.
If you're listening,
we love you.
Robert, best multiplayer.
I gotta go with the easy one of Deep Rock Galactic. Like, what is there not to like? How does that not fit with me? Come on. Is it space dwarves eating or drinking ale and screwing around? And that was my all-time favorite. Although,
there's also no sight more reassuring than Gunner Robert dropping down and murdering all of the things around me.
Yeah. So like, as far as like a shared experience multiplayer game, like that's my first favorite, and then my I gotta say my second favorite multiplayer are those series of horror games that come out every Halloween, and I can't remember what the company is called that makes them, but the most recent iteration was House of Ashes. I don't know if you guys are familiar. It's usually made
Dark Pictures Anthology.
Yes, that's it.
Right.
It's by
yeah. No. So I love those guys. Like, I think those
was that one good?
I enjoy it even when they're bad because
right. I know there's a certain amount of camp, but people really didn't like Man of Medan.
Yeah, that wasn't as good of a one. Well, because it was like a Scooby-Doo type plot twist, whereas yeah, exactly. But the other ones are actually really spooky, so I like them.
This is so funny, but the next category is Best Revisit, a game you already played, and I somehow completely forgot to make a list for it, so I'm going to skip myself and come back to me, because I certainly have a Best Revisit. So, Sean, what's a game you've already played before that you played again and really enjoyed this year?
I played through Knights of the Old Republic again this year.
Was, very good answer.
A great time. Very, very enjoyable to go back and play one of the true, truly one of the best Star Wars games, and one of BioWare's classics. And to get to see the ending from the opposite side and play the dark side route was strangely satisfying, which made me question many things about myself.
That you are a burden to the galaxy.
And also, would I just be better in saying, F it, I'm going to do this all myself, and you all have to do what I say?
Yes, we would be better off that way.
Oh, crap.
Probably. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Jason, did you revisit any game this year?
I did. I gave this one to Dead Cells. Dead Cells is such a fun game, and I've never beaten Boss Cell 0. And I've gotten close so many times. So I started a new save on the Switch when I was traveling, and it is just, I'm so familiar with the game. It's a great game to just mindlessly play in an airport or on a plane while listening to a podcast. It's just like, it's very satisfying. So Dead Cells, Motion Twin, good job.
Cool. Robert, best revisit.
I'm saying Skyrim only semi-jokingly because I actually I haven't even gotten to the part of the new game yet. I'm just replaying the old stuff, but with mods that make me even better. So that's awesome. That's about it. But my favorite revisit was giving Bloodborne a second try this year. And
that's right. You really like that, right?
I got real into it. Yeah, I got real into it the second time. I put in a lot of hours in it because the first time I played it, it was one of those things where I just said, it's too hard. But after I dedicated myself to formerly beating Sekiro, it gave me Dark Souls hubris to try other Dark Souls type games. And Bloodborne has my favorite type of horror theme, which is eldritch horror. And I didn't even realize it because I was so bad at the game formerly that I couldn't get far enough to learn how spooky and creepy the game was.
Yeah, it's a big selling point.
Yeah, because you start out the game, and I thought it was just about werewolves, and it's about so much cooler things than that. So, so that was my best revisit.
Cool. All right.
Nice.
I replayed a lot of games this year. I always do. And it's a hard pick for me. Think I'm gonna go with Final Fantasy VII Remake though.
I knew you would. I literally was thinking that
because it's between that and I'm playing Pokemon Platinum, but I'm playing a ROM hack, and I've never actually played Platinum. I've played Diamond and Pearl before, but not Platinum, which is different enough, I think. And this ROM hack is really changing things, and I'm only halfway through, so I won't say that right now. But I'm playing it on my phone. It's awesome. But yeah, Final Fantasy VII Remake, with the caveat that it was on the PS5 with the PS5 enhancements. And this was the first time, it's not the first time I've played a 60 FPS game, but it's the first time I've really understood what 60 FPS can bring to a game, probably because I was so intimately familiar with the game as it was. But like, you can choose between fidelity and performance mode, and I swapped back to fidelity after performance mode, and I was like, nope, can't do it. It's literally making me sick to watch it. Like, it felt like it was lagging. I was getting motion sick watching Cloud like stutter as he swung his sword. Couldn't do it. Just couldn't do it. But that game is awesome still. I played it again so that Sean and I could talk about it in a spoiler cast that we did. You can go check that out if you want. And then I had the added bonus of being able to play the it was called Intergrade, and then the DLC was called Intermission, where you get to play as Yuffie. And man, that game made me love Yuffie. And I don't love Yuffie before I played that, but it was really good, and I oh my gosh, I can't wait for that sequel. It's never coming, but I can't wait for it. Yeah. All right, next up we have the best Sidequest minigame. This was kind of a throwaway category. Does anybody have anything or can I move on?
I got one.
All right,
go ahead though, Sean.
I was actually going to talk about Final Fantasy VII Remake here.
Okay.
In general, Final Fantasy VII Remake's side quests are not stellar, but the entire period of that game, of the side quest when you get back to Aerith's house and you get to go around town, I really enjoyed that just because it was a nice period to kind of slow down and really get to kind of enjoy the time with the characters. And I just remember that really sticking with me and getting kind of to enjoy this quaint, simple time with just Aerith and Cloud, especially since I know how at least the base Final Fantasy VII plays out.
That's nice. I hated those parts.
I know,
because I just wanted to see the story, and I was like, no.
It's like we spoiler cast about it or something.
I just wanted to. It was killing the pacing on my first playthrough, and then on my second one, I also needed to play through quickly because I wanted to get to be able to do the spoiler cast. So maybe on the third playthrough, because you know it's coming, I'll take my time. but we'll see. Jason, what's your best side quest / minigame?
Okay, so for me, it's the mini game in Deep Rock Galactic where you get to buy beer from the tavern there
And dance.
When I buy beer,
what?
you bought the leafy whatever.
Leaf Lover Special, baby. Cheers with the Leaf Lover Special. It is the natty light of the space dwarves, and I love it. And actually, I was Googling the name of it, and it turns out that it has a buff where it makes you less drunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
it's the
it
thing
does
that
the
makes
opposite of
you,
get you drunk.
undrunks your character from drinking all the oily oafs.
It's hilarious. Anyway, yeah. Cheers.
Cheers. Robert, do you have an entry?
For Kyle.
I got nothing.
That's fine. It's
What,
niche.
did you say drink break?
Yeah, I did.
Okay. I'll be right back.
All right, next up we have Best Next Gen Title. Now, Sean and I are the only people who have actual next gen machines. You guys have approximations, we'll call them, for your PCs.
Shut up.
But I talked about Intergrade, the Final Fantasy VII Remake, and the DLC is technically only playable on PS5, so that sort of counts, but it is also DLC, and it was really short. So that's just like an honorable mention. But I mean, Ratchet & Clank sucks, and so the next really only option I can say, other than Astrobot, which again, while fun, is just like a little pack-in demo game, Returnal, but not just because I have to say it, but because Returnal is actually a really good game. I'm never, ever going back to it. Never, ever, ever going back to it. And it made me want to pull my hair out at times, but in the best ways. And I'm really excited to see what that company, whose name I always forget because I want to call them Insomniac, but their name is... Someone's going to fill that in for me. Oh, well.
A Wakiac.
No, it's not a
No.
Wakiac.
Well played.
Housemark.
Housemark, huge glow up. They've done... Their games looked nice, but they were very small in scope, all like 2D kind of perspective, bullet hell style stuff. And for them to just come out swinging with this beautiful looking...
Rezo
Gun being, one of their biggest ones. Alienation, I think, is another somewhat recent, well-liked one. But yeah, this and everything translated so well to this full 3D environment, third-person action shooter stuff. Story was really weak, in the weirdest ways. But a really good game nonetheless. If anybody finally gets a PS5 and wants a really hard game, make no mistake, this is not fun. There's no easy mode. It's basically just like get good or die trying. Also, to Robert's love, it's got a lot of
quit trying.
A rage quit trying. It's got a lot of creepy tentacle, deep sea eldritch type creatures as your enemies. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Now I want to play now.
I know where this goes.
But yeah, that's mine. Sean, what's your best next gen title?
I'm 100% cheating, and counting this anything that came out on the Switch is counting as next gen because
That is cheating. But go ahead.
And therefore, Metroid Dread.
Yes, I've got to bring it up at some point.
Wow,
That's fair. That's very fair. I would fully support that.
Mm-hmm.
At the best, I can call it the best new game that released on a console this year.
There you go.
And it was just a great experience. I love the gameplay, the boss fights, with the exception of the recurring kind of more mini boss style boss fights were a ton of fun. And that the final fight there was great, and also despite the fact that I think Samus has one line of speaking in an alien language bit of dialogue, there's a good chunk of story, both atmospherically and in Samus's body language that was deeper than we certainly than we tend to get on 2D Metroids, but even in, with the exception of Other M, which had too much story and had all its other issues, was a really, really top-notch game.
For sure. Everyone was talking about Lady Dimitrescu.
I also found the map very useful and easy to use.
It was.
Totally quiet. Be quiet.
Yeah, no, everyone's talking about Lady Dimitrescu, Dommy Mommy, step on me, blah, blah, blah. I want Samus to dominate me. That's what I want. Shoot me in the face with your arm cannon. Blow me up like Kraid.
Okay, my best next-gen title. It's almost by default like Karch's, and I will say Deathloop. Now, while it may not have instantly grabbed me, and while I may
The one
have
that you rage quit the other day?
Rage quit, yes. All those things aside, it is a complete package. It's a very well-polished game. It's a very interesting take on roguelike gameplay loop and permanent progression. It's got satisfying combat that forces you to balance stealth and fighting, and I mean, it's got an enjoyable atmosphere. I love that kind of retro vinyl feel that it has to it. The enemies are challenging, but not so difficult to kill. Overall, good game. I do want to play it more. It confuses me a little bit with, like, I don't fully understand what I'm supposed to be doing right now. But I know I know where the goals are. I know what I'm supposed to do once I get in the level, but
how does the map treat you?
They're small enough areas that I can memorize them.
Okay.
So it's not so bad.
Cool.
Yeah, anyway, that's all I have to say. I know Robert played it this year. I don't know if he has anything to add, but I found it enjoyable.
Robert, what's your best next-gen title?
I'm going to do exactly what Jason just said. I'm going to add to my favorite new next-gen game, Deathloop. It's my type of game because it's the type of game where you start off playing it and it seems very difficult and it seems like it's very big and hard to understand, but the more you play it, the more you realize just how much they have folded into the game itself. They have increased the surface area of content for how much there is. And
excellent explanation.
They just condensed it into the most pleasing way that you don't really get into until you like put in time and effort into it, and then you really gotta put time into it. That's really it. You have to learn.
I feel like you're calling me out. I feel like you're calling
No,
me out. But okay.
He should be calling you out.
Much like the best biscuits, you gotta build layers into them so that you get the ideal flaky, crusty.
Exactly.
Right.
It takes time to do.
But see, I used to be where Jason was with a dislike of games. Like, I didn't get into Bloodborne and even games like Deathloop until probably the last couple years. Before, I just did not have the patience for them. I didn't want to have to get good. I just wanted to play. But now that I have a little more, something under my belt, I'm just going to say I love Deathloop. I'm just going to say that.
Nice.
I don't care who knows.
Respect.
No Deathloop shame in here. No, sir. All right. Next up, we have Missed Connection. That's a game that you wish you had played. Not necessarily something you won't play in the future, but, we're at the end of the year. We don't have any more time, really, before 2022 hits, and new titles start coming out. March and February are going to be crazy. But mine, I had a few. Where's my document? There it is. There we go. Kana, Bridge of Spirits. I wanted to play this game so bad, and then I think it came out when I was in the middle of Mass Effect, and then something else came out, and I will be playing this game, just not yet, but I cannot wait. Eastward is a indie that came out, I think, on everything. I definitely know it came out on Switch. I don't know a lot about it, but it looks really cool. It's got an awesome art style. It looks like it's got a moody thing, but it also has actual gameplay. It's not just like a narrative sim kind of thing. And then finally, we've talked about it a little bit, Guardians of the Galaxy. I was the first one who wanted to play that game, and then I haven't played it at all.
It's true.
But I did fall in love with it the first, I knew it was a thing. I knew of it. Like, it was rumored or whatever. I don't remember if it was confirmed or not. But I thought to myself, why? But then I saw the trailer and that really long presentation at E3 this year. And then they were like, it's coming out in October. I was like, this looks awesome, and it's coming out real soon. And then I just missed it. But I will get to it.
I'll go have these when you do.
I'm playing it on console.
Oh, I will not go halvesies.
Yes, I'm not playing on PC anymore. We talked about this already. My CPU gets maxed out just running Streamlabs. I can't play on my PC anymore.
Makes me sad.
It makes me sad, but Steam Deck's coming. Anyway, Sean, what's your misconnection?
My biggest misconnection is earlier in the year I played Monster Hunter World, and I enjoyed it. Definitely got to the point where I realized that the bang for the buck when it came to the single player story wasn't going to be worth me continuing to play it, but would have loved to have played a Monster Hunter with friends, and therefore I am sad that I did not get to playing Monster Hunter Rise especially while you were playing it early in the year where we could have played it together.
For sure. So
I may try to get into it before the expansion comes out, and then hopefully you and I can play a bit of the game with the expansion.
That'd be awesome. But at the very least, there will always be another Monster Hunter, and it's nice to have that in the back pocket that now that you do like it, you'll be there day one with me probably.
Switch axe for the win. No, was it charge?
Yeah, I think you did Charge Blade with the shield that turns into the
Charge Blade for the win.
It's a really It's really cool. It's very strong. But I'll always be a hammer boy. Jason, what was your missed connection? All games?
Yeah, boy, all games exactly. No, I have two here. I had Mass Effect Legendary Edition, which I already said I might go ahead and buy it on the PC and play it there, and then just VR in general, because I have the Oculus Quest 2 and I so badly want to get into it, and I've scheduled nights with Greg to play VR games because he has one too, and then just the weirdest stuff happens. He was trying to remove a wart from his head and he misunderstands the directions and burns a hole into his forehead. And then he can't wear a VR headset because he can't put it on his forehead. Just random stuff happens in life. And then you don't play VR. That's a misconnection. I want to play more. There's a game called Demio. It's a cool little grid-based, turn-based, isometric perspective, but in VR game with cute little tokens that you move around a map on.
That sounds cool.
It's co-op multiplayer, and I really want to play it. No big deal or anything that someone burns a hole in their head and they can't do it. That's mine for the year.
So what stops you from playing without him when he can't show up? Why don't you just play VR anyway?
Yeah, well, yeah, I know I should. I'm so tired at the end of the day. I just don't want to stand up for a game you have to stand up for or whatever. It's just a more physically demanding way to play games.
What's Sean always say? It's not a console? Yeah, that's the one.
Yep.
No, hush your mouth.
Robert, what was your misconnection?
My misconnection is a game that I don't have the capability of playing at the moment, which is Half-Life Alyx.
Ooh, yeah. That's a very good game.
And the only reason I can't play it is because I don't have a VR set for my computer. I only have it for my PS4, which is useless.
Yes, it is. Just take Jason's. Next time you see him, have him bring it. By the time you bring it back, he won't have played it in between that.
If you're no. Hey, listen. If you're really not using your PSVR at all, I think there are homebrew firmwares you can install to use it on the PC.
Yeah, but Half-Life Alyx, when I was looking at this game, it is designed for VR. It is the perfection of it, and I want to enjoy it how it's meant to be enjoyed. And the PS4 has while it is fun, it is subpar. It is not very good. Yeah. So,
yep, you're right. I have one.
So I'm gonna hold out, get in something for my computer down here, but I definitely want to play. And every year that I don't play it, that's going to be my misconnection, by the way.
Does it sting that Jason's played it and he just didn't feel like continuing?
Yes, it does a little bit. But I also often find that me and Jason are almost the same, but reversed in a lot of ways. So,
It's true. You guys do have an interesting dynamic going with your tastes and what you play.
Yeah.
He's the true PC fan. He being Robert. Jason talks a big PC game, and Robert actually follows through on it. What's next? Oh, there's a little self-indulgent. Here we go. Best NFTP video moment series, whatever. We're going to talk what we liked about this channel this year. Certainly wasn't the number of podcasts we did, because it was really, really small. Yeah. But my favorite was, and it's ongoing, the Sean Katie Mybers FF7 playthrough is really fun to watch. It's killing my playthrough. It's so boring playing this game after watching you guys play it. Mostly because I'm literally just stepping through the same moments that I've watched recently, but also because it's literally less entertaining. And then my second favorite thing is adding Robert as a fairly regular, if not constant member of the team.
That's the second favorite thing?
Yeah, my second favorite thing.
Yeah.
I meant second in the list of things that I'm listing, not what in my heart. Robert transcends lists and placements.
Okay.
If we were to do the thing like we did with Zelda, where we did a point system, Robert would get the most points. He might not be anybody's number one or everybody's number one, but he would get the total points of friendship, and he would be number one friend.
Well, what did I use to get in what was that from Rock Band? I always got the spunkiest or what was it? I can't remember what was what
there was a goofy. That's right. You were like the most energetic.
Yeah,
it was a weird category though. I remember that. I just don't remember what it actually was, but you did get it every time. Sean, what's your favorite NFTP moment?
My favorite singular moment for NFT this year was during the Resident Evil 8 streams that we did. Where Jason had to get like the fuse, but it took the lights out, and there was that like crazy slug fetus monster, and he was so freaked out that he looked down. He would not look at the screen anymore, and we had to yell at him in order of where to go to get through the scene. And so it's just the two of us just screaming at him to go left and right because he's so freaked out he won't play the game.
He legitimately did not look. He was looking at the game. He was literally looking
That's
at
right.
Ethan's
He was
feet.
looking at the ground in the game, and you and I were having to work off of memory to try to tell him where to go.
And it worked. It worked.
Did.
Hey
Somehow.
man, we didn't beat it, but we got pretty far. That was good.
I think we got our money's worth out of the game at least.
Yeah,
I'll play it
for
someday.
sure.
I'll play it
In
someday.
TikTok views alone, we got our money's worth.
That was
Actually,
our brief TikTok peak right there.
Actually, we didn't get a lot of views from that one, unfortunately.
Now I'm sad.
Whatever.
Don't they say me?
The Final Fantasy VII Jason TikToks are some of our best, along with my dog. And actually, the Fortnite one was our very best.
Yeah, that makes sense. That's one of our best
Jason,
videos.
what's your favorite NFTP moment?
Oh, I mean, number one was Robert joining. That was my number one.
Shut up.
Whatever. I mean, it was. You could look at my doc, which you already have, because you always look at my doc.
I did
you wanna
look at
peek
it.
my doc.
I respected your
You want to
doc
see how
privacy.
long my doc is, how many notes are on it,
How many boats can I park at your dock? I'm asking on behalf of the Coast Guard. We're low on pier space.
It depends on if you're going to park them in port side first or the other one.
Oh my god. The other. Oh my gosh. Just keep going, please. What is your
I would
other?
like to change my favorite
the other
moment.
one? What's the other one?
Starboard.
Starburst. Okay.
We gotta go play Sea of Thieves again just so we can have this out one more time.
No, it's blood pressure
No,
goes
we
too
really
high.
don't need to. But my other favorite moment was like Sean. He was talking about earlier at the top of the podcast where his computer stopped recording certain cinematics. When his Final Fantasy VII replay, he went back on some of the non-recordings and he hand drew the cinematics, but he kept in his reaction and his wife's reactions. And like when the art changes and you guys are commenting as if you're watching those cinematics on a TV screen. Oh my God, it's amazing. Everybody go watch it. What is that, number 19? Is that the one that it's in?
21, I believe.
21. Oh my gosh, it's so good. Go
Yes,
watch
the one,
it.
it's one before the current one.
I'm honestly, I'm not like I was like, all right, I gotta stop recording the Xbox so this doesn't happen to me again. No, if it happens again, I'm just gonna hand draw some more.
Yes,
animation.
do that.
That's amazing. Yeah, please. It's so good. It's
You'll
so,
have an
and the
excuse.
reactions are so genuine because you guys were watching the real cutscenes.
Yeah, we're watching the footage.
It's so good. But the scene changes where you change the art.
Yeah,
or what makes
I
it.
wasn't
It's
expecting
so-
that. I was expecting, I mean, it was above and beyond what I would have done, and then you just kept going with it. You're like, nope, I need to do this part too.
It's amazing.
It is.
It's amazing.
It's very
that's it.
old school Flash style too, like back at Newgrounds kind of
Ooh,
stuff.
I like that.
just a little less
watch it.
animated, but still some animation in its own way.
Yeah, because he drew it on the surface, so he like kept the exact same drawing, but he would like change the eyes or change the arms.
Yeah.
Amazing.
That's great. It's
very good.
That's pretty good.
Robert, do you have
Thank God I own a Surface Pen. That's all I'll say to that one.
It came in handy. Robert, do you have a best NFTP moment?
I mean, it was my favorite being able to join you guys, which is my favorite.
Yeah,
You're my
he's-
favorite people.
he's
You're
ranked.
my favorite.
He would be the first one.
But I would say my favorite was when we were playing Deep Rock Galactic, because that was just also my favorite game. So that was
fun.
great.
It's really good. It's really good. All right, next
My
up we have
favorite
Big...
Deep Rock Galactic was when I drank so much that I got drunk, and Robert knew.
I don't remember that. You'll have to point that out to me. Next up, we have biggest news story, and Jason already mentioned this, and I guess it's maybe kind of it's not cheating. I think it just happens to fit two different categories. Biggest news story for me though was the announcement of the Steam Deck, because Steam Deck is life. Valve is my new favorite company. They're gonna save me from the Switch. They're gonna let me keep PC gaming. I'm gonna get to it's gonna be awesome. Handheld PC gaming. Ooh, it makes me shiver. I'm so excited. I'm on the list. I'm going to talk my wife into letting me buy this $500, $600 machine.
You already pre-ordered it, so I hope
didn't pre-order it. I put a $5 line.
Well, that's a pre-order.
But no, it's not a pre-order.
Okay.
Anyway, I can't wait, but I'm going to have to, but I can't. So, Sean, what is your biggest news story?
I put, because of the pure insanity of it, and it was at the time certainly bittersweet, and it's been a little bit more funny to watch since. The entire Titanfall 2 saga here. Titanfall 1's been unplayable for years. Finally, there was this wave of DDoS attacks against Titanfall 2. Respawn, because it's not a priority, put some people on it, was working on a solution. Some member of the community claimed they had a way to fix it. Posted it all as a way to fix it, was heralded as the savior of the game, because the game then got better. Then it turned out that person who posted it was part of the group that was doing the DDoS attacks, that was trying to somehow use this as a way to get their hands on the source code for Titanfall 2 so they could revive a thing called Titanfall Infinite or something like that, some free to play version of Titanfall. And then it's just been frothing at the mouth, spinning in circles on the carpet, insanity within the Titanfall community ever since, because those people have lost their minds because the game they love broke, which is the sad part. But it's also been a very interesting case study in human behavior.
It's so funny too, because it's not an unpopular game, but it's also it's had its day in the sun, but how it's still drumming up so much drama.
It's to the point where they stopped selling it. The first one, all platforms, they're we're not selling this anymore.
Yeah, the latest development in this crazy situation.
And then just the weird trends that have gone on the Titanfall subreddit as this community has tried to cope with across this whole thing. It's just been somebody's going to write a doctorate thesis on that on some day, and I hope I see it and can read it.
Jason, biggest news story.
The biggest news story of this year are just the ongoing supply chain issues that continue to plague the electronics industry and other industries with no end in sight. And so, to this day, you can't go into a store and buy a PS5. You can't buy a Series X. You can't buy any graphics cards. You can't buy anything. I mean, it's wild. You can't buy a car, for God's sakes. And anyway, I think their projections are, early 20 or very late 2022 or early 2023 before we recover from this impact of. I can't fathom why. I can't fathom why it would take the world so long to catch up on the demand for this.
The problem is going to be the pent up demand, and it just the producers of the chips are not able to ramp up, because it's so costly to build additional facilities to make chips.
But they have an infinite demand. I'm sure they could figure it out within a year. I don't know.
No, because it takes multiple years to build new factories.
Yeah, they're losing.
You and your logic, okay?
If demand never increased, they'd still be behind the 8 ball, but demand has only increased, as it normally does, and it might be increasing even more than it might have in previous years due to just a lot of cool stuff that's happening in technology, just period, across the board. And Sean said.
Interestingly enough, one little tidbit about this, something some people may have noticed is that Apple hasn't seemed to be as impacted, and a lot of people are attributing that to the fact that they moved to their own silicon, and so they had dedicated factories for doing that, and they're not competing with everybody else for those chips. So I thought that was interesting, and it ends up being a really they lucked out, because they just made that switch before we even knew COVID was a thing. So
good for them.
Smart. Yeah.
Robert, do you have a biggest news story?
I got some white beard hairs. That's about it.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
I have more than some, let me tell you.
Oh, so
Mr. Salt and Pepper.
My biggest news story is that we're all aging. That's my news.
That's a terrible
news, everyone.
story.
News.
I'll go one more. I've got gray chest hairs.
Oh,
Don't have those yet.
Oh,
I don't think I have
salt
any.
and pepper chest hairs.
Let me tell you, kids, the military life is a stressful one.
No thanks.
Work.
No thanks.
Pass. All right, next up we have saddest delay out of 2021. So something that was pushed out. I have a few. It was never confirmed for 2021, but Silk Song was very likely to come out at some point in 2021, and then like they just stopped talking about it. And good on them. You know, at least I'm not getting my hopes up any more than I can. But I want that game so bad. I want it so bad.
So you're not going to say, you said it would be illegal for Sony to move God of War out of 2021.
It is. I'm suing them. I'm in some legal processes that I can't get into.
So that's why you didn't mention it?
Yeah. Thank you.
Please join our class action lawsuit.
To a lesser extent, Advance Wars, that was kind of sudden and unexpected. You would think a game like that, it's not just a graphical overhaul, but as far as I know, that is all it is. But that takes a lot of effort too. But they announced it really late compared to when it was going to release, which would have been like next week, I think. And then they just pushed it out to some vague time, like Q2 of 2022.
And this is a port of a Game Boy Advance game?
Technically, but which they were identical titles. They just had, slightly different mechanics and story. But it was just more of the same, basically. And so it's just really weird that you were this close to releasing it, and then you pushed it out, and it's just like, who knows when now? And like, what's wrong with this game? But that's fine. I wasn't so stoked for it, but it's still sad. And then I was also told that Outer Wilds, which came to PC forever ago, was coming to Switch and maybe other consoles, and then that got delayed too. I was supposed to be here during the summer. Obviously, that didn't happen. But everyone loves that game who's played it, and I want to love it too. So that's those are my saddest delays. Sean, do you have any sad delays?
I am very sad about the delay. While I'll be getting Halo Infinite's campaign here in 6 days, it will not be launching with either couch or internet-based co-op. And that makes me sad because the first game I ever beat with my younger brother was the original Halo, and we've gone and beaten every Halo game since together. And so I was really looking forward to playing that with them, and I'm sad that it's pushed out to some indeterminate spring date.
But you still will play with them, right?
I will, but the question now is, with the campaign coming out in 6 days, do I go and play the campaign on my own? The last couple Halos,
not if you're not going to have fun with it.
Yeah, so I gotta say, because I like Halo and I like to see the story, but I would also, like to play with my younger brother. And then Katie and I, we've taken a break for a while back. We beat Halo 1, 2, and 3 on the Master Chief Collection via couch co-op, and so we were kind of looking forward to picking back up and playing 4. I think 5 doesn't have couch co-op. I think this is Infinite's supposed to have eventually couch co-op, but it's just another thing that that gets pushed back and not knowing when I get to do it, and so it makes me sad.
No, I'm sorry.
Whenever you figure out how to do the couch co-op, you have to figure out how to split it between your two TVs, because that's perfect. The top and the bottom one's right there, and then
True.
I mean, what I could probably do is just hook up the Series S and the computer, and then just do like a LAN party.
Nice.
Good point.
Jason, do you have a sad delay?
I do. So obviously the Steam Deck itself got delayed out of
true.
2021.
I was never getting mine during 2021, but
right. I mean, if you haven't pre-ordered by now, you were never getting it before June of next year, but now it might not be until fall of next year. So
right.
That's sad, because I really am thinking about getting one, and I don't have a pre-order in yet because I'm not that committal. But yeah,
it's
$5.
$5. It's $5 that goes into Steam credit if you cancel it. There's no commitment to make.
It's committal. Karch, it's committal.
It's a mental commitment at a time where I'm contemplating buying a gaming laptop.
You can't see my face right now, but it's so mad. I'm making a mad face because I hate you so much.
It's I could have put that $5 towards my gaming laptop.
That $5 towards Mass Effect Legendary Edition. All right.
Why are you getting a gaming laptop?
Anyway, my other one is that Ninja Turtles Shredder's Revenge game that was going to be coming out. I wanted to play that with Luke so bad, and I looked it up the other day, and I was like, no, it's not coming out till next year.
Was it delayed?
It was delayed. I'm pretty sure. I don't know for sure it was supposed to come in 2021, but I thought it was, and now it's not coming until next year.
We are all going to play that for sure.
Yeah. But I'm also going to play it with Luke because I think it'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah, he's going to love it.
Yeah.
Robert, do you have a sad delay?
I guess it's sad that I couldn't get my PS5, but like
it is.
That's the biggest delay of mine that I can think of. I'm sure I experienced disappointments after learning about some games that were put off, but those are now out of sight and mind for me, so I'm going to say the microchip stuff.
Yeah.
It's poop. You heard it first, folks. No one's ever been talking about this. We are.
All right, we just got a couple more before we hit the big game of the year topic. This one is your biggest gaming regret. Now, this doesn't have to be like a negative thing per se. This is just, you'll see. Here's mine. I regret the Final Fantasy bet. It's taking up so much of my time.
Purpose of the bet. Yay!
Like, I'm probably going to win it, but I lost, you know? I lost. I mean, I appreciate getting to play through.
What did it cost?
Exactly. Everything. I appreciate getting to finish Final Fantasy VI. That was awesome. And Final Fantasy II was a, surprisingly enjoyable experience, but I've played 7 a lot, and I actually played it somewhat recently, like within the last 3 years. And I'm watching Sean play it, so it's like I'm getting over, and I played the remake. It's like too much Final Fantasy 7. Now, I haven't played Final Fantasy 8 in years. That's great. I'm going to get to play that. I love 9 a lot. I'll play that anytime. And then I played 10 fairly recently too. And like I said earlier, all this time I could be playing indies and smaller titles.
And you're not allowed to use mods either to make it go faster. You've got to play through like a normal person.
That part's not so bad though. It's not so bad because I'm good at games. But then my other biggest game regret is I should have just finished Tales. Or rather, I shouldn't have had Sean spoil it for me. I was trying to I just wanted to be done with it. Yeah, I know. But I should have just finished it. I was 2/3 of the way, but I should have just paused and then come back to it. But I was just kind of getting grumpy and I wanted to move on to something else. And I should have just finished it like a big boy.
I don't think you should have. I don't think it would have been worth it.
I think it would have been worth it. I love
then
anime.
Sean would have sacrificed for nothing. Let him not be a burden on you, Karch.
Anyway, Sean, what was your biggest gaming regret?
My biggest gaming regret was I had I think about 2 weeks there where I played Outward as a Sunday night stream for the podcast or for the channel, and I really enjoyed playing Outward. It was just a period where I just had too much going on and I couldn't manage it, and trying to kind of run it all with the laptop and all that was too much. Outward is a game that it's a strange game, and it's a game I really want to get into, and I just didn't get to it this year. And I hope I get back to it and give it another go, and whether I do it for content for the channel or just on my own, we'll see. But I would like to get back and play some more Outward.
Yeah, it's real chill. I really enjoyed the 2 episodes you did. I could watch someone play that game forever. I'll probably never play it myself. It's not necessarily my cup of tea for a long term anyway, but it looks fun.
Yeah.
Jason, do you have a gaming regret?
I do. Just not beating more games in general. I just didn't game that much this year, and I don't know why. I don't know what to attribute it to, but I hope to in the near future, do the bet with you, Karch, and actually play a game through and beat it, and just be like, I'm setting my mind to this. I'm doing it. I'm going to stick with it. I'm going to actually not. I don't know how to overcome getting quote unquote bored with something, but yeah, that's mine.
You beat Titanfall 2 this year, right?
Oh, you're right. I forgot about that.
So, there you go.
Yeah.
Robert, do you have any gaming regrets?
I did not finish Final Fantasy VII Remake.
Oh.
Wow, I'm judging you so hard right now.
That game ends quite excitingly.
It does. Do you know the ending?
I stopped after the one part of the city fell.
Okay.
Oh.
But do you know the ending? Like,
No, I
have you
don't.
had it
No,
spoiled?
it has not
Okay.
been spoiled for me yet. No.
Gotcha. Go back to it when you can, or when you feel like
Okay.
it. Did you really not like it?
No, I loved it. It was just, it was
Okay.
the type of thing where I was playing, and then like you guys I had learned that it wasn't the full original game that had been remade. And then
Right.
part of my motivation died a little bit because I was so excited that I was going to get to, like, as I was beginning to play this game, I thought, man, I have so much of this game left. There's this part I'm going to get to, and that part I'm going to get to. And man, like, how are they going to fit it in if it used to be on multiple CDs? And then it turns out it's, so that's
The first 5 hours of the original.
Wow. I'm surprised you didn't put that as your biggest gaming disappointment of the year.
That
My
it was
goodness.
last year.
Also, it was even though that was a disappointment at the time, now it has turned into a regret that I didn't just follow through and finish the game because
I see, yeah.
it's a good game.
It's never too late.
Yeah, it's still on my PS4. The save file's still there, so
Yeah.
that's it.
I would love to get your thoughts on that if and when you ever finish
yeah.
it, because
Yeah, likewise.
it's a doozy. All right, next up we have. This is vague, and I didn't make one. I don't think anyway. Did I? No. Biggest accomplishment, just personal accomplishment for the year. Don't even have to be gaming. What are you proud of?
I beat 12 games this year.
Nice.
Wow.
Very nice.
That might be the most I've ever done in my life, but it's certainly the most I've ever done in my adult life. It's been
Wow.
a very good gaming year for me. I also have read a record fewer books this year than I normally do, so there's a definite link between those two.
Definitely. I just counted up mine, and it's 31.
Well, you are the amateur
What?
professional gamer.
Yeah, I've rolled credits
Well
on
done.
31 games.
That's insane.
If I count the 2 times I beat Skyrim this year, I'm up to 14.
That's
Oof.
a hefty hours. A lot of these were short. A lot of the ones that I racked up were short, like little retro games that I've played early in the middle of the year. Oh, I forgot to shout out to my Retroid Pocket.
A lot of big games this year.
I moved into full-time software engineer role at work, and that felt good.
Hey, that's awesome.
Congrats.
I'm still really bad, but one day I won't be. I'll just be
Right.
kind of bad.
That's all you can hope for.
Yeah, Jason.
So my biggest gaming accomplishment, the friends we made along the way. It was so nice this is the way I keep up with friends, is through gaming, be it, doing a podcast on it or playing them, D&D, playing a multiplayer. Like, this is how I keep up with people, and it's really nice.
Nice.
And then I'll say my other one is just snagging an RTX card in February, because
That was
that took
impressive.
some massive skill, because I was on the road with Lauren was driving. I was just on my mobile device trying to figure out all the authentication you had to do to get to the checkout in Best Buy, and it was very exhilarating. My heart rate was elevated. So
Buying that PS5 with everybody helping me out was pretty fun. Like, literally half of the enjoyment of the PS5 comes from just acquiring it. Robert, do you
would
have
you
an
equate it
accomplishment?
to, was it the same amount of satisfying as standing in line outside of a building waiting for a release, and you didn't know if you were getting one because it's not pre-ordered?
I've only ever done that once with the Wii, and we've talked about that a bunch, and Robert and Sean were there. But that was technically more fun, for sure.
Same amount of uncertainty, oddly.
Sort of. We were there real early, so unless they only had 5, there was no way we weren't getting
people
one.
online, so we were fairly confident.
And they had 60. They had a bunch. They came stocked with those Wiis.
Yeah.
That was
I was
surprising.
trying to
how many
hype
there
you
were.
up, but go ahead and deflate the moment. It's cool.
That's what I do, man. I'm the anti-hype man.
Keep it moving, anti-hype man.
Robert, do you have a big accomplishment, gaming or otherwise?
My biggest accomplishment with gaming and that is fitting in a better work-life balance to do this thing with you guys when I can. Cause that's awesome. Yeah, it is no fun to live your life with just work, and it sucks. So
Oh my gosh, it sucks. Work is the pits. I know I said it's my biggest accomplishment, but I hate it.
same here. It is my biggest accomplishment to someday be done with it. So But game wise, my best game, I'm still gonna go with Bloodborne for hard game that I accomplished by beating it. Yeah,
Amazing.
That was the hardest game I think I've beaten other than Sekiro.
I want to play Sekiro's on my short list for sure. I am going to
play
play
it
that
for
game.
like an hour here, but
Yeah, and I liked it, and I've heard nothing but good things, and I'm a get gooder now. That's my life.
wow.
Stupid death
Real
story.
quick, I'd like to note too that I'm very happy with myself that I stuck it through and I finished off my D&D campaign.
You did,
yeah.
and it was awesome.
Because I did not want to do that at times.
Well, yeah, that was I'm gonna that was my favorite game of however long that you ran that for. The year
2020,
span.
2021.
That
was
was
a
fun.
year-long campaign, wasn't
yeah.
it?
Little bit more, just like a couple
yeah, a little bit
months
more.
yeah.
We started like March 2020, and then we went to like September
Yeah,
or whatever.
It was that was
2021.
DMing is a very time-heavy endeavor. So it was
The discipline. Not everybody has it.
But
I certainly
I would
don't.
I'm gonna retroactively give Sean best multiplayer game too. I'm gonna go back.
wow.
and,
Yeah, stop doing that.
Good deal.
We should just do a
This
quick
rate,
edit.
I'll be second behind Robert once we tally everything.
Right. Do a quick edit at the beginning of the podcast where we just say, after some consideration, D&D is the best game. All right, next up we have, and this is, I apologize, I added this way late, so you guys might not have something, but Bullet Dodged. This is basically like a missed connection, but something you're glad you didn't do. And I've never played a lot of the GTA games, Grand Theft Auto. And I was super stoked for these remakes, but I didn't get them right away. And I probably never was going to. But then it's a good thing I didn't, because apparently they're utter trash. And then just earlier this evening, Nintendo announced that they'll be releasing the Paper Mario for the Super Nintendo for the Nintendo 64 to that expansion pack service. It's been like over a month since that thing launched, and they're just now hyping up one singular game that they'll be adding, and that's still a week away. So I'm glad I didn't end up dropping the extra $30 on that, because I would have just been massively disappointed, in addition to all the weird graphical things that people are complaining about with like Ocarina of Time looking really ugly and running poorly, and controller latency, that kind of stuff. So Bullet Dodged on Nintendo expansion pack. Sean, do you have a Bullet Dodged?
I mean, one, I'll give you that from what Robert's talked about with the medium. Apparently, it's a good thing I didn't try to play that. So,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
I never had much interest in playing that, and until he brought it up, a couple podcasts ago, I've completely forgot it existed. I'm gonna go with actually Skyrim Anniversary Edition coming out, because I had, as you guys know, I spent many hours perfecting a load order, and apparently Anniversary Edition dropped and screwed everyone's games. So, I picked a good time to walk away from Skyrim for an extended period of time.
Anything that keeps you from playing Skyrim, always a good thing.
That's probably true.
Jason, do you have a Bullet
I have
Dodged?
like 40 days in the game.
I had one, but I forgot it, so no.
You didn't have to finish Final Fantasy. You didn't have to finish Resident Evil.
Oh,
no-
yeah, okay, there you go.
More
Thank
scary
you.
time for you.
Thank you for that.
Yeah. And Robert, do you have a Bullet Dodged?
For this one,
Like I was robbed of a bullet.
I don't think so. No.
Okay. Sean, do you want to do your two?
Sure. So I came, Karch posted all the previous categories and obviously our final category and said, "Hey guys, add any that you think of." And I added two, and nobody else added any. So the first one I started off with was biggest gaming gripe that you had this year. So Karch, did you have a big gaming gripe?
Nintendo. I'm still mad at Nintendo. I'm always mad at Nintendo. The expansion pack. We've griped about it a bunch, but I still hate the way they handle that. I hate the way they handle retro gaming in general. It sucks.
I agree.
And yeah, it sucks. I haven't played it yet, and I'm gonna get it anyway because I got a loophole, and I'm gonna get it for my daughter for Christmas. But I've seen enough of the reviews and opinions on the Pokemon Diamond Pearl remakes for the Nintendo Switch. And while they're competent, and those games by themselves, those base games are really fun, every other Pokemon remake has been an enormous step forward, in addition to the original version of it. And this was pretty much for the most part a 1-to-1. There's some alterations, and obviously the graphics are different, but I'm really disappointed that especially since they farmed this out to a different team, so they had all the time in the world. They didn't need to make this so bare bones, but they did anyway. And that really, really makes me mad because this could have been a really, really good Pokemon game, and instead it's just going to be an echo of what the DS version was.
I'll add on top of that, since I'm always happy to gripe about Nintendo, that we I didn't necessarily think we'd get Breath of the Wild 2, but man, did I think we'd hear something about Breath of the Wild 2 this year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Stupid Nintendo. And you know what? Guess what? In 1 week, just as a slight caveat, 1 week we have the Game Awards, which is the last big, of the calendar year anyway, the last big chance to see huge names and announcements and stuff. And I will be watching that. I'm not going to do this because I don't want to. Jason hates that stuff, and I'm not going to stream it. I'm going to watch someone else stream it, and I'm going to enjoy myself.
Nice.
But I'm
going to stream you watching somebody else stream it, and I'm going to watch you stream it, and I will stream that.
I'm going to be playing Halo, so come join me.
There you go. But yeah, we might see some Breath of the Wild there. So last hope. But otherwise, I agree. Stupid Nintendo.
Jason, you got a gaming gripe for the year?
I will say this for whatever reason, this in particular has been bothering me lately, and it is multiple PC launchers / having to sign into accounts once a game has been launched.
Yeah.
That drives me nuts because most of the time, like when you're inside the game, you can't use your password managers, and so I don't know, I have to figure out what my thing is. Most of the time I have to end up resetting my password, and then it takes me 10 minutes to even get into the opening screen, and then I'm like, I don't even want to play anymore. So yeah, I would say that.
Gotcha.
Yeah, no, that sounds frustrating. I can't fault you for that. Robert?
I'm going to say kind of what I was mad about earlier, which is the trend of taking these old games that had been like designed for much older systems and then not actually redesigning the engines of them, just putting a paint of veneer over the top of them and then calling them next gen. That's my biggest gaming gripe.
Sure.
Yep.
No,
and it's especially like Sony sucks at that. Xbox is a little better. They do put a little effort into the upgrades there, or companies rather do when it comes to Xbox, but I feel like it's just not the same. Like the PS5 upgrades of things, like you said, it's just a veneer. It's fake.
And it's been a bad year for remasters with one.
It has
one notable exception.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree with that.
Wait, what was the exception?
No, we're not going to talk about it yet.
Oh, wait, that's right. I remember.
I'll get there. Don't you worry. And then the other category I have before we get to the end here is, what was your guys' most awesome favorite gaming moment of the year? Karch?
I'm thinking. I don't know if I have like a uniquely awesome moment. Like I love finishing games, I do, but that's not like I don't have one. Not off the top of my head, anyway.
I'm sure I have some if I really thought about that were maybe more cool and especially induced of me having like awesome skill and doing something impressive in a game. But the one that jumped out at me when I wrote this was at the end of Metroid Dread, you've beaten the final boss and there's a cutscene there, and Samus just gives out this like primordial rage-induced scream that is just a really cool, raising the hairs on your back of the neck for all the awesomeness in moment. So I'm gonna go with that.
Suck out all my energy, Samus. No, it's awesome when they cut away to that really wide shot of the space station, and it's like kind of quiet almost, and then right back to that scene. It's like, ah! So good. Love it. I beat that boss again just so I could watch that scene, because they don't let you watch scenes.
That entire last bit, and I don't want to say too much about it because it's a spoiler, but that the circle is now complete moment for Samus in that game was pretty awesome.
It is.
Jason, how about you?
Yeah, so for me, my most awesome gaming moment of the year, I didn't beat a lot of games this year, but one that I did beat was Super Mario 3D World in the Bowser's Fury expansion for the Switch with Luke. And so the reason I put it here is it was a difficult task to do with a 4-year-old, but we rolled credits on that, and I'm proud of us. He's 4. He thinks it's hilarious to just die and steal my lives and keep dying and keep dying. So, the fact that we made it through all of it, especially Bowser's Fury, he never wanted to let me play as Mario. He made me play as Bowser Jr. for most of it, and I would just have to coach him through the things, like the boss fights, all the things. It was just like it was a really difficult game for me to get through, but we did it, man, and it was awesome, and he loved it. So
nice. Robert?
It's hard to, just like Karch was having a hard time, pin down like a specific moment. I mean, I guess I gotta say, taking it back to one of the first experiences I had on this channel with you guys playing the same video game was that one Astroneer or the astronaut game.
Yes.
And I remember that like I was playing on my Steam powered computer, and so it was like so like just awful. But what I could see is the poorly represented and stuttering frame rate of Karch throwing like something we needed in order to breathe down a giant hole.
That didn't happen.
And,
that's fake news.
And Karch did not see it.
Man,
I saw that he did that, and that was my favorite. That I caught him.
our oxygenator, our poor oxygenator.
I swear it happened before I could even see what was happening on the screen. Like I was clearly in control of my character, but I didn't realize it. I will not take full responsibility for this. I will not do it.
Yeah.
Nor should you.
That was fun. I would also like to add some of my favorite moments were anytime Brockledurk murdered everything in a barbarian-induced rage.
Of course.
Well, I was
always satisfying.
My most badass moment. Also, I was going to say our final D&D session was, I'm pretty sure, you scrambling to ensure the mega death you threw at us with all the mobs would not actually total party wipe out us. And
the final. How can I manipulate the rules to not kill everyone?
Yeah.
I am not a good ruthless DM. Let's make sure that's known. I am a benevolent
But
DM.
that made what happened even more badass because it made it feel even more hopeless before it was really cool. So it was like it would have been in Lord of the Rings when all of a sudden they played something like really slow and everybody was moving in slow motion and perhaps an elf was singing like that. That's kind of like what it was like. So,
No, as long as it's not aliens.
no, this is more like any other elf. Any elf at all. That's
any
not
elf.
Pippin,
her.
Treebeard, anybody.
Even a
else.
hobbit.
Even a hobbit.
Yeah.
All right.
Time.
Karch,
It's time for Game of the Year. Best game you played this year for the first time ever. And I have a short list here. And in no particular order, we have Monster Hunter Rise. Great game. Great Monster Hunter. Man, Capcom, round of applause for pulling this off on a Switch. In a day where I'm so irritated with load times and even a simple game that I expect to run way better, it just doesn't, and blah, 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 blah. All that stuff that we've talked about. Monster Hunter Rise plays phenomenally. The internet is good. The multiplayer is good. It's just, everything's so seamless, and it's just a fun game to boot. Like it's an awesome entry to the series, worthy of any other major entry to the title, or major entry to the series, and it's just so good. Final Fantasy VI. I was down on this for a long time. Everyone was like, "Oh, it's amazing." I was like, "It's fine." Well, that's what happens when you only play halfway through a game, and then you eventually finish it, and you're like, "Oh, wow, I get it." Because apparently all the really, really great stuff is in the back half. Metroid Dread. It's been 20 years since a Metroid game came out.
Ooh.
A new one. New 2D Metroid anyway. And Dread delivers on everything. It's definitely at the top of my list of Metroids. It might be my favorite one. It's hard to say. You lose just a little bit of that exploration. I know Jason gets lost and doesn't like backtracking, but for the first time ever, I was able to see the seams, see the strings in like a good way. Like in like I was able to appreciate that game design. I was like, oh wow, you're just funneling me through here without making it an actual hallway. And so kudos to
the level design and the like how they must have mapped that out as you're jumping between essentially the different worlds or areas.
Mm-hmm.
I remember pausing at one point and being like, this is impressive. Like I could not build a dungeon that worked this way.
No, not at all. But yeah, kudos to Mercury Steam, and then doing something that Metroid's never really been known for, which is like really stellar combat in boss fights. The room-to-room combat's fine, but the boss fights were awesome. Every single major boss fight was super cool and pretty hard. In the past, Metroid games have been all about like they're just slugfests. Let me pump 100 missiles into their face and win. And if I don't have enough, I probably die. And this one, it's definitely skill based. It's read the patterns, hop out of the way, shoot when appropriate, et cetera, learn their tricks, and then they all have cool little like not cheats, but like shortcuts that you can do a lot of damage really quick if you know how to counter or do the thing at the right place, and that's really fun. Great game, just a great all around game.
Great cutscenes too, which you don't get a lot of in Metroid games.
Just really raising the bar, and hopefully we get one before another 20 years goes by. Mass Effect Legendary Edition. Like I said, go watch our 3-hour spoiler cast if you want to hear why I like this game so much. But I've only ever played the first one, never played the second one all the way through, and never touched the third one. And I got to play all of them together with the DLC, and it was an experience like no other. 80-something hours over the course of like 3-ish months, and I never tired of it. I get it. Again, another game I was down on, and only because I just didn't know what I was talking about, like Final Fantasy VI, but I get it now. It's a very, very good game. And then lastly, a game I played at the very beginning of the year, one of the first games that I rolled credits on that I hadn't beaten before, which is Nier Automata.
Another one I did a great spoiler cast on.
Yep, another great spoiler cast, and whoo, this game makes you feel. I think I've talked to you about this before, Robert, because I don't think you've played it, right? You should.
Okay.
You should really play this game. Don't play this game on PC, though. To my knowledge, the PC port is not very good.
Okay.
You would be better off just playing it on PS4.
Gotcha.
Super cheap, though. Probably like $20 at the most.
I've got. I think I have the disc. I could just bring it down when I'm down for Christmas.
It also might be on Game Pass, although that would be on PC. So anyway, find a way to play it and play it. Because Nier Automata. Man, I keep messing up. No, I'm saying it right. Automata is one of the best games I've ever played.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I've been hearing for years that what you're saying. It's just now it's helpful to hear you say it too.
Yeah. No, it lives up to the hype.
It'll make you think about life.
It'll make you think about life, love, robots, happiness,
robots and having love,
miniskirts, swords, deserts.
Okay.
And so, it's with a heavy heart that I have to say no to Nier Automata and give my game of the year to Mass Effect Legendary Edition.
Oh, did not expect that.
It's just so good. It's got so many problems at the end that
it does. And
it makes me
so good.
I know it's a feat how good this game is until the end. That the end, while it matters and you're disappointed, it doesn't matter. Like the journey just craps all over that destination, and it's like it just doesn't matter. It doesn't matter that there's some dumb ghost kid, and that it all just kind of boils down to something real simple, because it's all about those memories and the choices you made and what you felt in that moment and how you role played that character. There is very little in video games that makes you feel like you're the character like you do in Mass Effect. And it's not first person. So suck it, first person. And that's all I have to say. Sean.
So I was going to have my own little build up to my announcement, but I also wasn't expecting Karch to pick Mass Effect Legendary Edition as his game of the year. If you've listened to me at all since I've beaten Mass Effect, a game that makes me stop playing video games for 2 weeks because I know any game that I play is going to be given a disservice to, and I just couldn't move on. Is a game that impacted me, more than anything else. And so, yeah, Mass Effect Legendary Edition. And I mean, and this has been a stellar year. Final Fantasy VII Remake was so enjoyable to play. Metroid Dread, having finally, it was that and The Messenger are really my first jumps into kind of the Metrovania style games. And Messenger, as much as it kind of is and isn't one, were great to jump into. And I look forward to playing more of them. But there's nothing out there like Mass Effect. And to play them all, with updated graphics, all the DLC, some gameplay improvements, especially on the first one, and get to carry that version of my Commander Shepard all the way through, and have all those great times with the crew, and essentially make a bunch of digital friends that I'm sad that are now gone, just heads and shoulders above anything else that I played this year, despite playing some really phenomenal games. So, bravo, Zulu, Mass Effect.
And it opened the door to you playing an MMO.
It did. And that's saying something.
Yep. Jason, what is your game of the year?
So this is a little bit funny. Earlier in the podcast, when Sean said that the remakes were not good this year with one notable example, I thought he was referring to, and I don't know why I thought this, Diablo 2 Resurrected. Because that game was fantastic, and that's my game of the year.
It's a really good remake.
It is.
It's a really good remake. In my experience, because I don't play a ton of remakes, but never for me has remake been so beautifully captured the essence of the source material. Everything felt right, everything felt preserved, and yet it looked somehow familiar in the way I remember it, and in other ways you can flash it back to the old school graphics and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that's what it looked like. So although I think the one bad thing you could say about it is that it had a rocky launch on their servers, but I say kudos to Vicarious Visions for being transparent about the problem and addressing the issue as quickly as they could. So I think as these issues pop up, they continue to attack them as quickly as they can. And ultimately, I think it's a wonderful game, and I really enjoyed my time with it and playing it with friends that I played the original ones with.
And it's just nice to have it going forward. It's not going anywhere.
I definitely did forget about it. Obviously, Diablo is not my cup of tea, and I don't play it. Honestly, I think probably the only real thing, because it seems like Vicarious Visions is in the seat and ready to go to tackle any problems that game has, is the fact that it's tied to Activision Blizzard right now.
Right.
That is not a name you want to be associated with right now.
Right.
Nope.
Yeah.
Robert, what is your game of the year?
I'm going to give my overall game of the year award to Metroid Dread. I love the progression of Metroid Dread. I love that it turns what is normally a 2D game scroller into so much more in these cutscenes and the boss fights and the everything. Like it expands it. I love it. So objectively, I would say that is my vote for game of the year. But subjectively, my vote for game of the year is Resident Evil Village, that I beat like 2.5 times. And that's just because I am a sucker for horror games. I love the crap out of them. So, Resident Evil scratched that itch for me pretty good. I love that experience that they create with that. So, yeah.
Did you ever play Resident Evil 7 VR on the PSVR?
No, I did not.
Robert, how did you get through the House of Bienvenido or whatever it's called while looking at the ground without someone to tell you to turn left or right?
Oh, well, you see,
that's what I
had Karen yell at me what to do loudly as I didn't do what she said.
If Resident Evil and Metroid has taught us anything, it's that we all need a strong woman yelling at us.
It's true. It's true. All right, there you have it. Mass Effect Legendary Edition is the game of the year. No, I'm kidding. We've all played great games. Pretty stellar year, but also at the same time kind of disappointing. It was a weird year for me, I think.
It was a weird year.
But
I had a lot of really great games, but we also expected some other games to come out this year that we didn't get.
It's true. We're still in the wake of COVID. I didn't play anything as good as Hades, though. this whole year, or this whole time I've been thinking about this list, I'm like, there was just nothing that touched Hades, which is, of course, our game of the year last year. I think maybe for all four of us. I don't know about Robert, but it was definitely the three of our.
I almost voted for it this year because I played a whole bunch of it this year. So you're lucky.
So good. So good. All right. Jason?
I mean, Hades didn't make me cry, and I cried for Mass Effect, so I'm just saying.
That's fair.
That's fair.
It's totally fair.
Good too.
Okay, so I take us out here.
Take us out.
All right, later, skater. I love this podcast. I love video games, and I love you three lovely NFers. That's all we have for you this week. You all have a fantastic week. We will try, but we are never free to play.
All right.
Fine, I'll go get a drink too.
Fine.
I can't be trusted with drinks anymore.
No, you've been banned from drinking forever. It's been nice knowing you. I hope you can get all your fluids from
sober Sean now.
No, I meant
And
liquids.
also dehydrated Sean.
There you go. I was supposed to say, you're going to have to learn how to eat a lot more fruit to get your fluids.